Welcome, Tiny Hands Big Dreams, here on our off-grid homestead in southern Ecuador. We're here today because I want to talk about my wood. Now, when we get into wood finishing, we have a limited selection of what's available. So, weather resistant is especially difficult, UV resistant is especially difficult, mold is an especial problem, insects are a crazy problem. We live, if you look at like levels of environmental damage to wood, it's a 10 everywhere, all the categories. So one of the methods, which is actually a Japanese method, and I think I've modified it slightly, gives me this. Now, we'll get a close-up here. So this is freakishly smooth. It is actually really nice just to touch. It is so smooth. Not dead flat. That's different. Now let me tell you how I did that. So I have a bunch of Amazonian hardwood that I bought cheap. I can't tell you what it is. They didn't tell me what it is. It is really heavy. Makes a nice noise, actually. That's separate. If I had to give it some sort of comparison, I would say we're sort of like a red oak. Weight, hardness, it's very difficult to cut. I bought it wet and fresh, and it sat for 2 years, cut like this. Now, this is chainsaw cut. This is how wood comes here. Dudes go out into the woods with a chainsaw and not much else, cut a tree down, and then proceed to carve it up into planks they call tabla with a chainsaw. Which, I mean, when you realize they're doing it freehand with a chainsaw, they'll make a whole stack of planks, and it looks pretty good. I don't mind the chainsaw marks. I think it's kind of interesting. And this is an outdoor shelf project. It's going to be in full weather. So what I've done is I've added some holes for structure that we're doing. And I took a 60 grit sander, and I went over it, and then I just knocked the corners off because it's something that's going to get touched. This will not last, however, in the outdoors. It will eventually degrade like everything else. So burning is the thing. There's no chemicals in this. I have another piece that I did as a tester, and I burned it solidly, and I processed it, and then I put it as a door threshold to our outside uphill, which is always wet, and it's next to the shower, and it's literally sitting at the soil level, wet all the time. It is still there, and it still looks exactly the same. It hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't crumbled. Everything else in our house that's touched dirt has just turned to mush. So the method worked. We also did our chicken coop out of it, and it's the only thing that has stood without any sort of repairs needed. It's a really good wood preservation method, but it's actually, I think, beautiful. And there's some other projects that I want to get into doing this on. And it takes a bit of time, but it's otherwise economical. Let me show you. So here's some other pieces. And again, we start out with the wood, and I'm going to run the torch over it. And I'm going to wave the torch back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until it is burned black. And I start to see little lines of cracking. Now, this, while black, is not black. It doesn't come off on your hand. Like it's clean. And that's fairly fresh. So once I burn it, I go over with the torch, I then scrub it with a piece of stainless steel wool. You just take water and you just scrub and scrub and scrub until you get down the way you want it. If you don't scrub too much, it's more black. If you scrub more, you get to see more of the wood color, kind of a mocha color, and it'll just be, you'll get lines of black where the different compounds have darkened more, which is actually really pretty. It's just more scrubbing if you want to do that. And that's the gist of it. But it's an outdoor wood preservation method that's going to last a very long time. And honestly, it's just for a thing you're going to touch, it's really smooth. You don't have to sand this. Like I said, this was sanded 60 grit smooth, but it is It is so smooth right now. That's kind of lovely. So let me show you the burning part, and I'll show you the scrubbing part. And maybe you can use it on a project of your own somewhere. So this is a piece of stainless steel wool. It's a pot scrubber. They're sold for kitchen use. And this is what I use to scrub it down after it's been burned. So let me just demonstrate on this little piece what kind of a burn we're looking for. Alright, now watch here. You'll see there's the flame coming out of the torch, and then all of a sudden it grows and there's a yellow like halo around. I didn't need that hair. And that yellow halo is the wood itself outgassing and burning, and that's what's sort of taking the life out of the surface. That's what we're looking for. There, we got that nice halo going. That's it. That's that part. So now we just get the hose. There we go. So now we have a thoroughly blackened piece of wood. The last of my little scrubby here. This is just so I don't burn on the rocks, which would be fine, except the rocks actually tend to explode when they get hot. Not that I don't have more rocks. As you can see, the water is coming off black. Now, if this were like a fence post or a fence board, I would just put it up and let it naturally weather, which is like the Japanese method. But I find you can get really nice results with a little scrub by taking off the looseness. It also gets you a smoother edge. Let me do a side here. And then it's clean, so you could handle the pieces and not worry about getting carbon on yourself later if you removed it. That's kind of the neat thing. I've done some pieces out of this, shelving and whatnot, and I could make a keychain out of it. It's so clean once you've given it a good scrub. Alright, now, it is hard to see the wood color. I'll try to get a little bit of light on it. It is glass smooth feeling. I did this side, but not this side. I'll do a distinctive exactly half, and then we'll let it dry. It's hard to see when it's soaking wet. Now, knots and things, they behave a little odd. I wouldn't recommend it. especially knots like this one that have holes, which is why I picked this piece. There we go. Scrubbed and unscrubbed. We're going to let it dry. We'll look at it in a little bit. So I've let it dry a little bit, and I'll show you what it is. Now this was just a piece of scrap wood. So this is burned. It looks like something you found in the fireplace. It's terrible. This is scrubbed. Notice it's clean. Like this doesn't rub off. This is a water intake. So this is going to see wet duty. But I'm going to zoom in here. And you see this lovely, deep, like mocha kind of color. You see the grain of the wood. It is silky smooth to the touch. And it now takes weather. Like this can live in a water environment. The only problems I have is the screw holes are then protrusions through it. But that's the kind of finish you get. And it's suitable for a surface that's going to be touched. Anyway, I really like it. It's chemical free. It's economical. It is, it's an older practice that maybe more people should go back to. It wasn't something I was never taught about in woodshop class or on all the internet-y channels of woodworking things, of all the fancy finishes you have to buy that do a thing full of chemicals. And I don't know. I like it. Let me know your thoughts on it. We watch all the comments. See you for the next one.